Hello and welcome again to WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm George Upper, editor-in-chief of the Western Journal, and I'm joined today by assignment editor Joey Chester, as well as crack reporter Michael Austin.
Yes.
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 Today on WJ Live, we're going to discuss how politicians and the chattering expert class differ on COVID-19 responses, the Biden administration's latest anti-business moves, and how Joe Biden appears to want to kill American businesses by paying Americans not to work. Before we get to that, let me very quickly ask our YouTube viewers to click that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you never miss an episode of WJ Live. If you're not listening on YouTube or watching us on YouTube, find us there. It's really easy, youtube.com/WJ Live, and you know what to do. Something you should probably not do is vote on the political futures of some Democratic governors who have been pushing over the past year COVID patients, elderly COVID patients, at-risk COVID patients, back into nursing homes.
And the biggest example of this is Governor Cuomo from New York.
Right.
And he's been mired in controversy over the past few weeks. I mean, past several months, but it really hasn't caught up to him until this most recent scandal where it was revealed that they covered up their nursing home death numbers by as much as 50%, the numbers that were caused by COVID, that is. But you know, Cameron Arcand, our star writer, Cameron Arcand.
He's becoming such very
Yes,
quickly. Yeah,
he is. He wrote a great...
Did that sound like jealousy to you, Joey?
A little bit. I think you're a little jealous, George.
Of course, I'm just dying to be on OAN, so I'm so jealous. But no, he is doing amazing work for us. He really is. And you should check out his column, Young Not Stupid. It's all great stuff.
Very, very smart young man.
He wrote a story for us yesterday about 4 other governors that also were sending patients into homes during kind of the height of the pandemic. And those governors were Gretchen Whitmer, or Witchmer, if you will.
It's more accurate.
I accidentally called her that the other day, and that kind of became a big deal.
Fits.
Gavin Newsom of California, Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania, and Phil Murphy of New Jersey. Now, these 4 governors all have one thing in common. Of course, they're Democrats.
Right, right.
And they all decided to send these elderly people back into nursing homes for fear that the hospitals would not be able to accommodate that many people. And
If there's a bad Democratic idea out there, you can count on Newsom to jump on board. He's not going to wait. He's just going to leap in. With both feet.
Usually nowadays Whitmer is right behind him with a lot of that stuff too.
Exactly.
You know,
That's true.
They're a jolly gang of Democrats.
Cuomo's the ringleader.
He is kind of the ringleader at this
exactly.
point. Yeah.
For right now.
Yeah.
See how long that lasts.
And what I thought was really great, what Cameron noted in his story, is what Ron DeSantis had to say about all of this. The Florida governor, of course. And he said, at the time, there was actually a lot of movement to send the nursing home residents back because people said, oh, you're going to run out of hospital beds. You've got to clear the hospitals. And I looked at a lot of those models, and I didn't think that they were worth the paper they were printed on. They were based on flawed assumptions. They were not being validated in real time by what we were observing on the ground in Florida. So I said, you know what? If I have to build field hospitals all across the state, I will do that before I send these patients back into nursing homes and endanger all of those elderly people.
Which is not a small population in Florida.
No, and we do know, I don't remember the exact statistic, but a large percentage of total COVID deaths in the U.S. has been in nursing homes.
Sure.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
believe the AARP put out a study on what percentage that was. It's pretty big. I wish I had it off the top of my head. But, what DeSantis's comments seem to illuminate for me is that a lot of these Democratic politicians, they were just trusting on this one specific subset of experts.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were saying, okay, so these experts are saying we need to do this. And so forget anything else. Forget compiling information from different sources and different fields of expertise. We're just going to listen to the experts, which is basically their catchphrase at this point.
Right.
And we're going to send these people back into those homes.
Yeah.
And what that's resulted in is probably, you know, the largest percentage of COVID deaths out of, you know, all these different populations. So why do you think that these left-wing politicians are just so willing to blindly follow one subset of experts, like at the expense of facts they find, like Ron DeSantis was saying, that are evident, you know, experientially, or just other fields of expertise?
I think this shows a general theme with the left. They don't like scientific facts.
Yeah.
They don't. We see it with transgender stuff, Joe Biden and transgender stuff. They just don't like facts. They fixate on, like you said, a small group of experts, and they follow that, and they don't care what anyone else has to say. And I think the nursing home thing is the biggest example of that. But what fascinates me is, how could you think that a virus that we know affects elderly people much more than, you know, people under, say, 60 years old?
Yeah.
How could you possibly think that it's a good idea to send COVID positive people into homes with the population of people that can be most affected by the virus? It doesn't make sense beyond the science. It just doesn't make common sense.
Yeah, what it feels like, and I have no evidence to back this up, this is speculation on my part, but what it feels like to me is 4 governors who essentially said, well, the old people are going to die anyway.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Let's keep them out of the hospitals so we can treat people who might live
Right.
and write them off. That's what
Yeah.
that's what it smells like to me. I can't.
It's terrible.
You know, I don't know that anybody had that conversation. I don't know that anybody had that thought, but it sure has that. It sure has that feel to me. And you know, you alluded to this, Michael. I am so sick of we're going to follow the science. I am so sick of it. It's a lie. It is a lie on numerous levels. But one of the most obvious is which science.
Yeah.
If an epidemiologist says, hey, we have these concerns, we should do these things about it, we should listen to that, okay? And then when the economist says, that's going to have these effects.
Exactly.
And the mental health professional says, yeah, and those effects are going to cause these suicides and these domestic violence cases and this number of, you know, alcohol and drug abuse increase, whatever it is. Those are all science. Those are all worthy of being a part of the conversation. So anybody who says we're going to follow the science, it should give rise immediately to the question of which science. DeSantis, I think, asked that question, which is one of the reasons why he is polling so well for, you know, potential presidential run in 2024, I suspect. I don't see that any of these Democratic governors, you know, were able to see the next step in the process of critical thinking.
And you did, you know, you mentioned how, like, well, it seems like their motives are like, well, these are old people, they're going to die anyway. And we do see that sentiment pop up with all of these equity policies that, you know, the Biden administration and largely the left in general are pursuing in terms of their COVID response, where they're prioritizing people based on skin color instead of based on age, when age is a much more important factor.
Absolutely. Like 1,000%.
Yeah. Of course, you know, there's evidence that shows that minority communities are hurt worse in some ways. But if you target helping older people and people that are at risk, they will get disproportionately helped.
Right.
So there has been this dismissiveness of old people because old people are disproportionately white.
Sure.
Then the other part of this is none of these governors, now there are a lot of Republicans pushing back and trying to hold these people accountable, but the mainstream media at large has pretty much ignored the nursing home scandals in all of these cases, including Cuomo's. What I don't think people realize is that Cuomo was not going to ever get in trouble until it was found out that he was underreporting the numbers. That's what he got in trouble for.
Yes.
It was not
And even then, Michael, I think there is a lot more focus from the establishment media on this series of women who are accusing Cuomo of whatever they're accusing him of. I don't know if it's I don't think it rises to the level of assault. At least I haven't heard anything that does.
Yes.
But certainly harassment or harassment, for those of you who don't like to say ass in the middle of a word. But that's not how the word's pronounced.
It's harassment.
Yeah.
Where was I? I lost my train of thought. So, yeah, that seems to be the bigger focus of the establishment media. They care more about, and look, I'm not saying they shouldn't care about the accusations of 4 women. They certainly should. But they seem to care more about that than the deaths of thousands of people. It's not until Cuomo stepped over that line, the Me Too line, the political correctness line, that suddenly the establishment media really woke up and said, whoa, I don't know if I like this guy anymore.
I think it'll actually be the sexual harassment allegations lumped in with the nursing home scandal that brings Cuomo down. If he gets, if he is
they
forced
bring
to
him down.
resign, if they actually bring him down, which I'm not confident they won't. He'll find some reason to make it out of it. Democrats always seem to make it out of these situations.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing to note
Although Bill Clinton was a heck of a lot more likable than Andrew Cuomo.
Well, and then now you have like Chris Cuomo, his brother at CNN.
Right.
And this just seems like such a cop-out from CNN. Chris Cuomo says, I can't cover my brother anymore because of these allegations. Anymore, yeah. They can't play with cotton swabs on TV with each other anymore, which I really think that's the establishment media's cop-out, saying, oh, now we don't have to cover it because they ran cover for these Democrats for so long on things like the nursing home scandal.
No, I think that's absolutely right.
And
that's what the establishment media does.
Yeah. And before we move on to the next point, I did mention the nursing home statistic. I found it, the AARP, they found that more than 160,000 residents and staff at nursing homes have died of COVID.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. That's
horrible.
That's a tremendous number. So since Michael has already brought us down with that terrible
Sorry,
number.
I just wanted to end on that note.
That's good. There was a specific death that I think caught us all a little bit off guard a couple of weeks ago. The news of Rush Limbaugh's death on February 17th, that really shook us all. He was a hero to a lot of people. It was tough news for a lot to handle. I don't remember the first time I listened to him, but I remember the guy who said, you need to listen to him. He was one of my best friends in college. Remember, it was the early 90s, so Rush's national talk show prominence was just kind of, coming into being. And so I listened to him for, close to 30 years. And remember arguing with my dad about Rush Limbaugh. I remember a lot of things about him. And so his loss was a great loss indeed to America, to the conservative movement in particular. Some very good friends of the Western Journal are trying to turn what is undoubtedly something very difficult and negative into at least a sliver of positivity around Rush's death. And that's why WJ Live is partnering with patriotdepotcom to offer Thank You Rush Limbaugh t-shirts in his honor, with a portion of every purchase, and this is really important, going to a foundation that Rush himself donated generously to, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So getting this shirt is a way to both honor Rush and support a cause that he really believed in. So there'll be a link in the description for this show today, and I really encourage you to check that out at patriotdepot.com and get yourself that t-shirt. I know there are a lot of, if you're a fan of WJ Live, if you're a fan of the Western Journal, I know you were a fan of Rush Limbaugh. I just know you were. So I know there are a lot of those folks watching right now, listening right now, and I really encourage you to do that. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, Rush, for all that you did for us, for those decades of service. You changed political talk radio probably forever in this country. I don't think that's too great a statement to make about Rush Limbaugh. So we said that something you should not do is bet on the political futures of Democratic governors who shoved these poor COVID patients back into nursing homes. Something else you should not do, unfortunately, is look for a job mining copper near Superior, Arizona, which I had not heard of Superior, Arizona, so I actually looked it up, and it's only about 70 miles from us. It's not that far.
Oh, wow.
It's in Pinal County, a little to the southeast of us. Now, it's probably a 3-hour drive because of the way roads work in Arizona, but it's only, if we could fly, it would be a very quick flight. In Superior, Arizona, the Biden administration has put the kibosh on a deal recently that would have opened up 2,000 acres of land for copper mining. This deal was previously approved by the Forest Service, but it looks like Biden and his far-left environmentalist friends want this deal to go the way of what? What other deal did he just do this to? Pop quiz.
Keystone Pipeline.
The Keystone
Right.
Pipeline. In fact, Chris Golden, who wrote about this on the Western Journal, actually referred to Biden as keystoning this deal. He's made a verb out of it, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, this has similar results. So the difference was the pipeline was already, that work was already started. This one had not. So we're talking about projected jobs versus actual jobs lost.
Sure.
But the results are very similar. About 1,450 jobs that are not going to come into being. About $149 million in wages to these workers gone. And more than $1 billion a year in economic impact for the state of Arizona. All of that is history now, with a slight caveat. The Forest Service, the Biden administration, Forest Service, by the way, is a branch of the Department of Agriculture, so very much executive branch, Biden administration control. The Forest Service has said that they need to review some of this stuff,
Always.
which is going to be, at best, keep in mind this has already been reviewed.
Right.
Okay, just to be clear, but at a very minimum, we're looking at months of additional review, and possibly just killing the project outright. So we have yet to see what the final results of that would be, but I would say that they don't look very good for this copper mining project. Arizona, by the way, if you don't know this, I didn't till I moved to Arizona. Arizona is one of the largest suppliers of copper in the world, the largest supplier in the United States, I believe, and one of the largest in the world. So that is a key industry for the state that the Biden administration is just stabbing in the neck. What should businesses do, guys, to protect themselves in this uncertain regulatory environment? So Governor Ducey, who I have disagreed with many times about a lot of things, but he was dead on the statement that he put out about this. He said, Arizona does what works. That's what he said. We follow what works. And when regulations are so uncertain, it becomes very difficult for businesses to react. How should businesses protect themselves in this kind of thing?
I think something to think about in cases like this, when you're dealing with the federal government and land and giving mining companies access to that land to do activities on it. I think a conversation, and being from Montana, this is a conversation we've had a lot, is who should actually control these lands and decide what happens on it.
Speaking my language, Joey.
So you have some bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. sitting in an office that says, nope, this can't happen any longer. Well, they don't know what's happening in Superior, Arizona, and what Arizona needs.
I'm 70 miles away.
Right.
I don't know what's happening
exactly.
in Superior, Arizona.
So what does some guy sitting in an office in D.C., why does he get to say what happens here? And so I think there really needs to be a conversation about, okay, how do we shift some of this management and control over to the states so they can make these types of decisions? Because like Doug Ducey says, Arizona knows what's best. We know what's best for us. D.C. doesn't. The federal government doesn't.
That's exactly right.
And I think a lot of these businesses in the first place can read the tea leaves and they know, okay, I better vote Republican. But not all of them do. And
they're shocking.
Right.
You're absolutely
well,
right.
and you kind of saw this with the unions that voted for Biden. As soon as he gets rid of Keystone, they're like, wait a minute.
Right.
What happened?
What did we do?
What the? Yeah.
But you can certainly vote for smaller government. You can certainly vote for, or at least not vote for people that are actively looking to destroy your business.
It seems common sense.
Yeah, that seems like,
I mean,
that might be good advice.
but
Michael.
understanding that the Democratic Party, they're always going to be for more regulation. If you're a business, if you want to grow, if you don't want regulation that's going to hamper you, you can't vote for Democrats, especially not at this time. I wish there was a more immediate thing I could suggest, but at this point, when it comes to big government control, there's not much you can do outside of vote for the right people.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Joey, I think your point's dead on. This is the reason this is an issue is because this land is in the Tonto National Forest.
Right.
And as soon as you put national in there, it's not the Tonto Forest anymore.
Nope.
Now, it's not in, who should make this decision? Theoretically, people in Superior, Arizona should be making this decision.
Yeah.
Not, to Joey's point, some DC bureaucrat who I virtually guarantee you has never been
Yes.
to Superior, Arizona.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe never been to Arizona. Good chance never been to Arizona. But definitely never been to Superior, Arizona. It's not, I mean, you can Google it. It's a small dot on the map.
Yeah.
If it weren't for copper mining, it probably wouldn't exist at all. And now, 1,450 jobs in an area like that, we're not talking about a metropolitan area like
Right.
Phoenix, where we have, couple million people and you lose 1,500 jobs and they'll find 1,500 jobs somewhere else. This is Superior, Arizona. This is small town Arizona. Why is it that so many business owners, leaders, CEOs, board members, whatever, continue to support and vote for Democrats, given this repeated behavior by Democrats?
Well, their messaging is always on point. They always do a good job of before they flip flop, they make it clear that I'm going to take care of you and we're going to do this to help find equality and all of these things. And
Is it about feeling good about themselves?
I
think that's part
the
of it.
difference between the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the difference between conservatism and liberalism is that the liberal view of the world is a much more idealistic, favorable view. If everything they said was true, the world would be a better place. It just so happens that it's not true.
Yeah.
So people get caught up in that, and as we've mentioned on this show time and time again, we as conservatives and Republicans have just had a hard time kind of batting back those emotional arguments.
yeah,
absolutely.
So,
The great conservative columnist Charles Krauthammer once said that all conservatives think all liberals are stupid, and all liberals think all conservatives are mean. And that's kind of what you're getting at, Conservatives, at least in our better moments, conservatives measure things by results, how things wind up. Liberals tend to measure things by intention. How do you want things to wind up? Oh, you want them to wind up good? Let's do it your way then.
Yeah.
That makes no sense at all. Zero sense. But that is repeatedly what the left does.
I also think there's an element of cancel culture in this, because if a business CEO or someone in the media finds out that a business, their leaders vote a certain way, if they vote conservative, the chances of that business being canceled by the national media and by the mob left
The Mike
is
Lindell
exactly,
grift.
something like that.
Goya.
Or Goya,
Yeah.
And so, if they're like, oh my goodness, I can't admit I'm a conservative, or I can't vote conservative because if I do, then I'm going to get canceled. My business could go away.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably a
Interesting
conversation that people have with themselves when they're thinking about who to vote for. And that's a terrible place to be in, where you would choose to vote for someone on the left simply because you are so afraid of losing your business over politics.
People
It's
do
insane.
act in their own self-interest.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that would be their perceived self-interest.
absolutely.
And whether that's accurate or not, I could certainly see how they
Right.
would perceive it that way. Unfortunately, for business owners and for Americans in general, this is not the only anti-business move that Joe Biden has in mind right now.
The $1.9 trillion COVID stimulus bill has got to be one of the worst pieces of legislation that the United States Congress has ever considered.
I think I say that every time they consider
That's-
new legislation. They just keep topping themselves.
Every spending bill gets worse.
gets worse and worse and
Like,
worse.
Okay, next time there can't be a worse one than this, and then there is.
They find a way.
Yes, and this is absolutely a case of that. There was an op-ed today. I don't remember where it came from, but we did a story on it, and it is actually an ex-Trump advisor. He was the chief of Donald Trump's Council of Economic Advisors. So this guy knows his stuff. And he's talking about the package, the stimulus package, combined with the last stimulus package from December where we got our $600 checks. And this stimulus package really ups the benefits. Right now, a lot of the country is starting to reopen. People are getting back to work. This bill would basically tell people, no.
Pump the brakes on that.
Don't go back to work. Don't reopen. No. We want you to stay home. So what it would do, it would include a safety net for 6 months of $400 bonus unemployment benefits on top of the normal weekly benefits. It would include a new $3,000 child tax credit, an expansion of food stamps and rental assistance, $2,000 in-person checks, that's including the $600 from before, and expanded health benefits.
So you're doing Joe Biden math now.
Yes,
$2,000
yes,
checks
correct.
because you already had 600. Yeah.
The other part of it is it takes away a lot of the employment requirements from the Clinton era of welfare benefits. So basically, you don't have to work and you can get paid. And the amount you can get paid is absolutely insane. I believe the highest state is Kansas, where a family in that state with 2 children, with both parents unemployed, with these benefits in the COVID package, would be paid $135,000.
I am moving to Kansas.
Yeah.
I am totally moving to
There
Kansas.
is not a
Sounds
single
fun.
state in the country where you would be paid under $100,000 to be unemployed with this COVID plan.
Well,
That's how bad it is.
I'll draft my letter of
Yes.
resignation.
If you don't see us next week,
Dear Ford.
So we get that condo together.
That is insane.
there's another part of this too, and there are some senators that are trying to work around the ruling that the $15 minimum wage can't be included in the stimulus bill. If it's included, this economist is estimating that 8 million American jobs will be eliminated in the next 6 months. And those people not only will be eliminated, but these people will be paid to stay home. They'll be paid
They'll make more money.
$100,000 to stay home.
Yeah, the poor guy actually
Yes.
working for $15 an hour is the guy kind of getting the shaft.
Yes. So it's terrible. And another part of it is, I think, under $1 trillion of the bill is actually for people. There's other things like funding tunnels for Nancy Pelosi and all kinds of pork projects in different states. This bill.
If she'd go live in it, I would fund it myself.
Yes, I would write a check.
I'd be happy to fund that tunnel.
I think this proves that the elite ruling class that is the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., does not care about Americans. They do not care about opening America back up. This has always been political to them. They don't care about us. They just don't. And so I just have a question. Do you think Democrats even want us to get back to work?
No, at those wages. I mean, so I'll teach you guys a rule of thumb here, guys. So that has done me. This is one of the few pieces of obscure knowledge I have that actually does me good once in a while.
We need like a graphic that says George's obscure knowledge to pop up.
And just put it up and just leave it there for the duration of the show. If you are trying to figure out if you make X number of dollars an hour and you want to know how much you make a year, just double that number. And that's pretty close. It's within a couple of percentage points. So $15 an hour is about $30,000 a year. You just double the 15.
Oh, that makes sense.
So take that 100,000 and half it, and that's about $50 an hour. So, and that was just running through my mind as we were talking about these numbers, because we're talking about, and this is, I don't know if I can say this with a straight face. Democrats want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour while they pay people $50 an hour to not work. That's literally
It's
in the bill.
they
That's what
want.
they've
Yeah.
proposed.
Yeah.
They're more than 3 times the minimum wage to not work. I get nothing. I got nothing.
And it also speaks to Democrats are always talking about how they want to help poor people. They want poor people to succeed. They want to help them. But what they don't realize is poor people, they don't, you can give a man a fish or you can teach him to fish, that old saying.
Right.
Like, a lot of these people need more skills in the marketplace. They
Yeah.
need to develop these skills.
Absolutely.
And at every turn, they are
I think you
finding
can get that by
ways.
not working, can't you? If you just stay home
No,
and not work,
just stay
can you
home.
develop those skills?
Yeah.
Learn the code.
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. Anybody starting out in their career, of course they need to get a little experience before they make more. That's the same at every level.
Yes.
Right.
And obviously people have different skills and so forth, but they just need to get into the workplace they need to gain those skills. And this is stopping them from doing that. It's exacerbating poverty. They are destroying the very communities that they claim to want to help.
Somebody in the office had a bumper sticker, I can't remember who it was, that said, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Give a man someone else's fish and he'll vote for you. And that does definitely seem to be the Democratic plan.
Well, I think this shows, too, when we have this argument of capitalism versus socialism. There's no other economic system in the world that has lifted more people out of poverty than capitalism. Yeah. This is proof that socialism fails and leaves people in poverty. They don't want to lift people out of poverty. They want to leave them in there. And guess what? Yeah, if someone's paying you $150,000 to stay home, you're going to vote for it. Yeah. But then as conservatives, I think, and you get back to what Michael and you, George, talked about earlier, this messaging issue that we have as conservatives. How do we speak out against a bill that's messaged as supposed to be helping Americans without sounding heartless? Because certainly people have been impacted by COVID financially. So how do we criticize this and speak out against it without sounding insensitive to those people?
Well, specifically this one is a little tougher considering the damage that the government caused with all the lockdowns.
Right, yeah.
So, I have gone back and forth on whether I support stimulus payments in general.
Yeah.
On the one hand, they do need to. I do feel like people need reimbursement when the government took away their livelihood.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you're getting them stuck on this on these payments, and with no other way forward, they're just kind of keeping their hands out, waiting to be fed. So
and on the third hand,
yeah,
that doesn't work very well, but roll with me. You're giving them their money back, or you're giving them money that they will have to pay back, right? Because they're not paying for this in any way. It's not like we're going to stop paying. We're going to cut spending over here so we can give this money back to people. They're just borrowing it. So So you're going to have to pay it back, or your kids are going to have to pay it back. Somebody's going to have to pay it back anyway. So they're taking out a loan in your name, and requiring you to pay it back over time. I don't, in the long term, don't really see how that helps.
Yeah, but more to your point, Joey, your question, that is, we just need to make it clear that this is making things worse.
Right.
Is that these overly expensive payments, they're making things worse for businesses. I think that's a message we could probably get out pretty easily. And it's making things worse for the individuals themselves that just need to get back to work. I think that, every time they come out with a new, okay, we're going to give you another payment, I think, first off, well, I guess I could use a few bucks. But the second thing I think is...
And that's everybody's initial reaction. Yeah, you're going to give me money?
But the second thing I think is, rather than sending us these payments every few months, the best, just let us work.
Right.
That's the best thing. That will help everyone way more.
Yeah.
So
at least during, the WPA years and the Great Depression, the government paid people to work.
Right.
We did these big infrastructure projects and that kind of thing. And not a huge fan, to be honest with you, but compared to just handing out cash or cell phones or government cheese or whatever the heck it is they're going to hand out next week. You guys are too young to remember the government cheese, but that was a big deal in the 80s. It's far superior. It's at least the government is, at least me. We keep saying the government. It's me. It's my money.
Yeah.
And at least if they're being paid, it's your money. If other people are being paid with our money, we're getting something out of it in terms of infrastructure that we might use personally, or we might know somebody who uses, or it might, help support a business that we care about, or whatever. There's at least some benefit to the country in it. I think the key, Joey, and this is what makes it hard. I think the key is education.
Yeah.
I think the key is for people to truly understand where this money comes from in the first place, because they don't. Many people know where it comes from. Few people think about it. They need to be reminded. Mm-hmm. This is already your money. The government isn't doing you a favor, handing you a check. They are giving you something back that either you've already paid or that you're going to pay because of future debt. You're going to pay it in taxes. So there's that aspect of education. And then there's education about what's in this huge bill. You guys need to, one way that we address this is by saying, sure, look, we all understand that people are hurting. Some of our viewers, I'm sure, are hurting. I'm sure some of them have been unemployed. Some of them are probably watching us right now because they can, because they don't have to be at work, because they've lost their jobs. And we, as conservatives, feel for you. We get that. I've been out of work. I know what that's like. $1.9 trillion is not the way to address that. That's, I think, $10,000 for every adult in the country, something along those lines. I saw that number somewhere. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it's a ridiculous amount of money is the point. And so education, which is hard, education takes work. It takes dedication. It takes people who are willing to hear truth and absorb truth and make truth part of their lives. And that's difficult. It's a lot easier to sit back and cash the check. Yeah. It is. I get that. It's a lot easier, and people tend to do what's easy. We at WJ Live and Western Journal, however, almost never do the easy thing. We work hard, and we work hard to bring truth and educate. We want to equip viewers with the truth on WJ Live. We want to equip readers with the truth on the Western Journal, and you can support both of those endeavors by going to westernjournal.com/newsletters. There are, I believe, 5 newsletters you can sign up for there. But the one I'm really talking about here is WJ Live. You'll see it listed there among the others. Look, you should sign up for all of them, which is what I say every time I talk about our newsletter subscriptions. You should sign up for all of them. But if you sign up for the WJ Live one, you will get a new email every time a new episode is posted, and so you'll never miss one. It's a great way when YouTube decides they don't want to show you our stuff, when Facebook deliberately hides it from you, when all the big tech tyrants say, it's enough Western Journal for today. We can still email to you. That has not, look, Google may decide something there too someday. If you have a Gmail account, they may wake up one morning and say, you know what, Western Journal's spam now. But not yet. They haven't done it yet. So for now, we can get every episode, a link to every episode, emailed directly into your inbox, and you won't miss a single one. That is what we've got time for today. I hope we've done our job today in equipping you with a little bit of truth. Hopefully we said something you didn't know already. If nothing else, I hope we encouraged you to know that there are other people in America who still think the way that you do. There are a lot of us out there. You are not alone. We're with you. Thank you for watching. We are here every day at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.